Hello everyone. This is News Reporter Jack reporting to you live from Harlem, New York. And today we're talking about love and hate, the tragedy of slavery. Well, I didn't quite know there was a tragedy. Well, I mean, slavery was a tragedy, of course, but we're going to find out just what's going on. Oh, I'm sorry. And we're going to find out because we're going to the news and we're going to, what did you say? I'm sorry. Youth Pastor Emmanuel at the church has something to say about all of this, and we're going to find out just what's happening. I'm sorry, everyone. I do get a little excited about the news, and I hope that you understand. But let's go and see what Youth Pastor Emmanuel is saying. Okay, everybody, this is Youth Pastor Emmanuel, and today we're going to be talking from Galatians 5:1. And Paul writes this: "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Now, as we discussed in the past, and I want to let you know, we need to talk about the African American journey. It's a long journey, and in order to talk about that, we have to talk about slavery. It's not something that we should be ashamed of. It did not make African Americans weak. African Americans are resilient, and whatever was thrown at them, they always found a way to come out stronger on the other side. Just think, over 12 million Africans were sold into slavery and were a part of the transatlantic slave trade. They did more than just survive. They built nations, and they accomplished a lot of things. Slavery in the United States was wrong because it was based on race and developed into hatred of Africans. Slavery was wrong because it dehumanized, or it made people think that slaves weren't really human after all, and they were just inferior. Slavery began in the United States because there was a labor shortage. Oh, you have a question, Calvin? I have a question! Look, Youth Pastor Emmanuel, this sounds like school. I mean, it's something that Mr. Antonio would say. But I guess it's okay. Yeah. Why is everybody looking at me? Yeah. Well, Calvin, you're right. It does sound like school, but the reason we're talking about slavery today is because Paul didn't want us to be burdened by the yoke of slavery. Now, the slavery he was referring to was sin, to be burdened by a yoke of doing something that God did not want us to do. God did not intend for people to own other people through a brutal form of slavery. Now, just to let you know, like I said, slavery began in the United States because there was a labor shortage. There wasn't enough people to do the work. So, after the American Revolution, the American generals and other rich white men began to take the land that the British once occupied. They wanted to grow something called cash crops. Now, when the original explorers discovered something called the New Land, which was North America, there was three things they were looking for: gold, or they were looking for cash crops. Now, not three things. Well, yeah, gold, silver, or cash crops. They wanted to know how they could make money. And cash crops were things like sugarcane and tobacco. Europeans would purchase sugarcane and tobacco from plantation owners in the United States, and this made them rich. They began to come up with Bible verses to make sure that slaves would think that by being a slave and by being treated mean, that was okay before the eyes of God. Now, not all people in the United States felt this way. Some Christians saw the plight of African Americans and began to wonder about the morality of slavery. Owning people as property was not what God intended. Several whites in the United States began to hold slave owners, which were in the South. They began to help, I should say hold, but they began to help slaves escape from the southern United States to live free in the northern part of the United States. Over a period of time, these rich white landowners in the South would grow very, very wealthy, and they did not like the fact that people in the North, or even people there, would sympathize with African Americans and feel sorry for them and help them escape to freedom in the North. Well, but not all whites were like that. A lot of white people, basically, they weren't rich. Just a few people got rich from slavery. Most people lived on small farms and barely made enough money to survive. Look, guys, next week I'll be talking about some other things, but I want you to remember we're going to have a big church sale today, and I have to go get everything ready. Calvin, it's your responsibility to go to the room and make sure all the clothes and everything are ready for the church sale. Okay?
I have an idea. Before I make sure everything's ready for all this sale today, I'll go in the church here, well, in the church kitchen, see if I can find myself a snack. I don't think anybody is in that room. They're just selling all the clothes and everything. I don't think so. I mean, they sell the stuff real cheap, so it's not expensive. I'm gonna make a snack.
Oh, hello everybody. I'm Cedric the Church Mouse, and I'm here today to, they're learning about slavery, and like I always say, like they say, it's not something you have to really be ashamed of. Although African Americans were treated very mean by rich landowners, the rich landowners loved slaves because it made them a lot of money, and they loved the fact that they could exploit people. Now, some people became angry about slavery and the brutal treatment of African Americans. They helped the African Americans escape from slavery to abolish slavery in the United States, and proved more difficult because slavery was driven by domestic rather than cultural colonial enterprise, and was social and economic base of plantations of 11 southern states. Now, what does all that mean? That means this, that a lot of people in the North just didn't like slavery, but they also got mad because they didn't like the way they saw people being treated in the South. So, what they did was they said they were going to help these slaves escape, and like I said before, a lot of rich white landowners became rich, made a lot of money from African Americans. That may make you mad, but the story continues. And moreover, slaves had gained new vitality, or slavery had gained new vitality when the found out something else. It was profitable for them to make cotton, and the cotton industry developed in the late 19th century, reacting to the abolishment attacks that branded it as a particular institution as brutal and immoral. That's what the people in the North thought. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people did. They were called abolitionists. The South intensified its system of slavery control. Particularly, this is something that happened. Now, what happened was there was a push from African Americans and from slave people, the people that didn't like slavery. One of them, but that made slavery a little dangerous, was a gentleman by the name of Nat Turner. He revolted in 1831, and it wasn't pretty at all. Now, Nat Turner was also a preacher. By that time, the American abolitionists had realized the failure of something called gradualism and persuasion. In other words, they thought that gradually slavery would end, and they also thought that, well, if we just persuade people nicely, they'll stop slavery. And like I said, my name is Cedric the Church Mouse. You've got to be careful, because if somebody comes in here, I have to run away. Don't tell them that you saw me and I was talking to you. Okay? All right. Now, let me go on. People who are called abolitionists, they wanted to come up with a law that would finally abolish slavery. Now, the abolitionists were basically some whites and some African Americans that lived in the North, and they were very diverse. And at one end of the spectrum, there was a gentleman by the name of William Lloyd Garrison. He wanted slavery to end right away. Now, he founded something called the American Anti-Slavery Society, who denounced not only slavery, but also the Constitution of the United States for tolerating this evil. His paper, The Liberator, lived up to its promise that it would not only just equivocate war or ask for war against slavery. So that was something that they wanted to do. It was, oh boy, it was terrible. And Garrison was uncompromising. His uncompromising tone infuriated a lot of white Southerners and many Northerners as well, because he infuriated them and made them mad because, well, he didn't like slavery, and he let people know about it, and that wasn't something that people want. Oh, I gotta go, guys. Wonder where that Calvin is. Yeah, okay. Now, every year we have like a church sale. People donate clothes, and that way the youth department, we make money from that. We sell it real cheap or whatever. We don't, and some of the clothes we just donate to people after the sale. If they didn't sell well, we'll donate it to a shelter or something. Oh boy. Yeah. I wonder what happened to Calvin. Let me look. Hey, wait a minute. He's over in the kitchen eating food. Calvin, what are you doing?
I just grabbed a quick snack. Oh yeah, the church, everything looks good. You know what? Youth Pastor Emmanuel, I think that you need to make sure you spray around here. I think I heard a mouse. Yeah, not sure, but I think I did.
Yeah, the legend is there's a mouse in here called Cedric, and he knows a lot about history too. So, yeah, and you know, we were talking about slavery, and we were talking about being free from the burden of slavery, and Well, in slavery in the United States, Calvin, just to let you know, a lot of women and men helped to join to end the slavery. And they were all, well, they were different races. There was a lot of people that helped out, and there were a lot of influential African Americans, like Frederick Douglass, for example. Now, the American abolitionists, they labored under the handicap that they threatened the harmony of the North and the South to break up the Union. And it also ran contrary to the United States Constitution, which left the question of slavery to the individual states. Consequently, many Northerners remained unwilling to adopt an abolitionist policy where they wanted to end slavery, and this distrustful abolitionist extension. In other words, they didn't trust the abolitionists. But you got to understand that during slavery, people were making a lot of money, and they got confused, and that's what happened. So we got to make sure that Calvin, was there something else you wanted to do? Because you have to help me out today, okay?
Nah, nothing else I wanted to do. I just wanted to eat another sandwich, but I'll help you out, youth pastor Emmanuel. And I learned today a lot about slavery and how to end slavery. Hey! I remember the Civil War, but we'll find out, I guess, how slavery really ended.